All right.
Thank you, Liz. Good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our resume writing getting started presentation. This is going to be extremely helpful for those of you, especially if you're looking for like internship opportunities or maybe just a job while you're currently in school. If you are preparing for the Career Expo that's coming up, your resume is a great tool to help sell and market your skills and your qualifications. My name is Rashonda Jenkins, and I'm one of the program managers in the Career Services Office. And then,
And I am Liz Giordano, another program manager in the office as well.
and if you all are not familiar, we are located in the Student Union, Suite 313, as soon as you get off the elevator. All right, so first I just want to share with you all how to access Handshake. So Handshake is the platform that we use to help share a lot of events that we'll have coming up within our office and some events that are on campus as well as any type of internship opportunities you may be seeking or job opportunities. The way that you can access this is right through Ernie. So if you go to Ernie, it's showing you there with the red arrow where you can click settings and you're able to add that to your home screen. So that way it's right there available for you. So make sure as you add Handshake to one of those primary tools that you can access that you click save so you can use it at any time. But Handshake is an awesome platform to use to seek opportunities and events that we have coming up. All right, so let's jump right into it. Our goal today is to help you all understand what recruiters are looking for when it comes to your resume. A lot of them like a nice, simple, formatted resume. We're just going to go over some of those elements that will help yours stand out. So first off, again, easy to read format, and you want to make sure that it's well balanced. I'm not sure how many of you may already have one, but it should be, again, nice, simple, and precise. You always want to make sure that you're checking for those grammatical and spelling errors. So not just the spelling check, but have someone else proofread it for you just to make sure you didn't miss any of those errors that might come up. The appropriate length. So your resume should be 1 page in length. As you all get into the workforce, when you graduate and you start your careers, your resume may go a little bit more into depth and you'll be able to go over that page limit. But for now, about 1 page is good because employers, as it says, their recruiters take on an average about 6 seconds to scan a resume. So we'll just say under a minute. So that makes the first impression, and that is what's going to help you get your foot in the door for the actual interview. Again, a nice consistent format. Liz is going to discuss some of those ways that you can format your resume and some of those important sections to include. Also, it needs a nice flow. When you're including that content, you shouldn't have any major stops in between your content. And then the most important reason that you are writing this resume is that you want to convey to the employer what your skills are, what are your qualifications, your abilities, and then what value are you going to be bringing to their organization. So with formatting, and you guys can definitely screenshot this information, but we'll also share out the information that we are sharing with you all today. You do want to start with the blank Microsoft Word document. I'm not sure if you all have tried using different templates in Word, but sometimes it makes it difficult that when you're ready to make some of those changes, it doesn't allow you to format it the way that you need to, or adjust the different settings to apply the new content. So you do want to start with a blank Microsoft Word document. Also, you want to make sure that you save it in a way that you will remember which job posting is equated to whichever resume you are going to be using. Because if you send the wrong one, then it just shows that you are sending that resume out to a lot of different employers. So you do want to save it with like a first name, last name, also a requisition number. If you have a job number, that's always great along with the employer name. You want to have one master copy, and if you're making those adjustments, again, you can resave it under a different name. Also, clear out any extra spaces, and if you all need assistance with that and you're like, well, I've included all the information that I think should be included, you can always send your resume to our office and have it proofread, so that way we can kind of help you adjust and include additional content that could get you to a full page mark. Margins. So margins should be set at 1 inch, and that just makes it, again, look evenly proportioned. And you can adjust a little bit if you notice that it goes a little bit over that 1 page mark, but starting at 1 inch leaves it really nicely formatted. You want an easy to read font style. So nothing too fancy. You want to make sure that it is legible by everyone that's going to be viewing the information. And then your font size. I know a lot of times we start out with 12, but anywhere between a size 10 to 12 is good for font size. And again, that makes it legible to all viewers. And I recommend starting out with the 12. And then if you notice that you need a little bit more space, you can always drop it down to an 11 and even to that 10 size. The thing that should be the largest on your resume is your name. So you do want your name to stand out. And I think mine is set at around like a 16 or 18, but that can be a little larger in font as well as bolded. Section titles. So again, Liz is going to cover some awesome information regarding how to include your section titles and make those areas stand out, and making sure that they're included in bold. And then before sending to an employer, you don't just want to send it as a Word document, but you do want to download it and save it as a PDF. That way your information is going to remain the same and it can't be altered or changed. And again, as you're saving the newer versions, you want to make sure that you're updating the document as well with saving it. And I'm going to turn it over to Liz.
Yes, thank you. So the next thing you want to think about are what are some of the most common section headings that you may have on a resume. So first and foremost, your name and your contact information. So again, your name should be the biggest thing on your resume. The thing right below that should be your contact information, an email address and a phone number. We do suggest only having one of each. It makes it simpler for the employer. As a student currently at Embry-Riddle, you can use your school email. Make sure it's something that you check frequently so that you know that if you're applying to something that you will check that Embry-Riddle email. If you're more comfortable and know you're going to check something else, use a personal email, but make sure that email is professional. So you want it to have your name, some initials, your number even is fine, but it shouldn't be I Heart Pizza or Future Aviator 27, it should be something professional. Your phone number, it should also be something where you're setting up a voicemail. You want to make sure if an employer calls you, they know I am talking to Liz. I am talking to Shonda. I'm talking to Aiden, right? They want to know that it's the person they've actually called. Okay. Other things you can use on your resume is a LinkedIn profile link. So that usually goes around under your contact information or next to it. If you have one, a custom URL. So again, that can be an e-portfolio, something that's showing the employer the work that you've done is a common thing to have as well. So these are optional things that you can include. It really does help show a little more about who you are. For LinkedIn, it shows all the things that you've done all the way back from high school forward that may not be on your resume, so they can see all those additional things that maybe didn't fully apply or weren't on that first page that you could include. So those are, again, some things that can be on your resume. An objective statement, or some students use a professional summary. That's a really good place to show, again, what am I applying for? What am I seeking in using this resume or applying to different positions? It again shows the purpose of what that document is for. Again, it's really important to think about your spacing, how much information you're including. So if the summary section really just says all the same things you're already going to have on your resume, you don't need it. But if it's adding a little bit more to your document, then you can use that as an additional source of, again, showing this is what's important about what I'm applying for. Other things that are really important, so typically at the beginning of your resume, somewhere on there should be your education section. For some of our newer students, you can still have high school, dual enrollment, something from before college. But you do want to list Embry-Riddle. So you need to put Embry-Riddle, Aeronautical University, the city and state, and your degree. So even if you're thinking to yourself, I don't have a degree yet, I haven't graduated, you still want to list that under your education. So it'd be Bachelor of Science in aeronautics, Bachelor of Science in mechanical engineering, right? Put the month and year you're going to graduate. You still want to list that as well. Even if it changes, you can always update your resume as you move forward. For any of you who are still exploring, whether it's engineering or general, you can still put Bachelor of Science. Every single degree we have is Bachelor of Science. So we can always add the degree later on. Specialized training. So some of you will have some certifications you may have been in, military experience. That's specialized training. Relevant coursework can really show what have I done during college that is applicable to this position. You might have a lot of project or research experience. Those are really great sections to put right under education. Again, it's showing the applicable things you're learning in class and how you've applied it. For our flight students, that flight time is crucial. Putting the flight hours, your ratings, all of that, they want to see how many hours you've completed. What level of ratings are you at? Are you just at a private? Are you at commercial? Are you at a CFI, CFII, whatever it is, right? They want to know what ratings that you have. Other things that are going to be important. Experience that could be relevant, work experience. It could be professional. There's a lot of different ways you can title this section. Again, military experience if you're a veteran, internships, part-time jobs, summer jobs, volunteering, on-campus involvement, leadership. There's a lot of sections you can have. Now, when we show you some samples and some sections in the next few slides, just remember, if you're a freshman and you're like, I don't have project experience, what am I going to do? Just remove that section or save it in your master and take it off for those applications. It's something you can easily add on in the future. Talk to your program manager. We are really good at giving you some ideas on how to navigate all the things you've done in class. So again, you just want to make sure, where am I in my process? All right. So I mentioned some of these things already. So like I mentioned, biggest things you want to have on your resume is your education section. Make sure it's formatted appropriately. You should have concentrations or minors, even double majors if you have that. I know some students do more than one. And then it's going to be from most recent down, right? So again, if you're in your bachelor degree, you're listing that first, you're putting every riddle first in that section. If you're still starting out, again, high school can stay on there until maybe sophomore, junior year, depending on how much else you have, right? And then if you decide in the future to go to graduate school, where is that going to go? Above your bachelor's degree, right? It's most recent. Again, projects, you want to show what semester was that in? How many people were on the team? Because you're showing I can be on a team. I can work as part of a group. What are some specific things you did, right? So this is an aerospace engineering sample resume. So it's going to be a lot of those technical skills that you're going to need that are going to be impactful. We do have examples for all the majors on campus, so we can send you one more specific to your degree program. But if you're not engineering, what are the projects you've been doing? Is it flight operations, right? Have you been creating a flight plan? Is it about safety? Have you been creating a safety plan? Homeland Security, have you been doing a risk management assessment, right? All of those things you want to think about when you're looking at positions. Also, what are the most important projects that you've done that relate to that internship or job? Okay. And then in the experience section, again, you want to show what's the company name? What was my job title? Where was it located? So city and state. What was the dates that I was there? And put month year to month year to present. We don't want to see the word now, month year to now. We don't like that, right? Employers want more professional language. Current is okay. Present is the most common used, but you're also going to have some bullet points to explain all of the different things that you did at that position as well. So again, what are some other sections that you can have? A lot of students will have a skills section. What we want on there are our technical skills, computer software, computer hardware. So what is one? CATIA? Is that how you say it? I hope so. C++, Python, Java, um, Business.com, our business students have some other management platforms. So those are the main ones, right? That kind of software. Other languages beside English, unless you're going to work in another country, you want to list some languages that you know. What are your proficiency levels there, and certifications as well. So in my professional opinion, soft skills, career readiness competencies are usually not in a skills section. They're going to be in your bullet points or on a cover letter. You don't want to be listing out adaptability, leadership, teamwork, because again, your project experience can show that. Your internship and job opportunities will show that. Interviews, cover letters, they will all show those things. A lot of students are involved on campus, so show that. Share your leadership experiences. What activities have you been a part of or involvements? And it can be as easy as member, right? You can just list it out. When was I involved in this organization? Or you're in a leadership role. Put that on there. Leadership skills are very important for these positions. Okay. A lot of students also have accomplishments, honors, awards, scholarships, Eagle Scout. Some of your honors from education can go under that section, education instead. So Dean's List, President's List, cum laude, when you graduate. So those are sections as well. And then you have volunteer or community service. That's a good one to show an employer that you've had as well. Okay. And then here's a few things. I think I mentioned some of these already. Again, including those dates. All of this whole section should be reversed chronological order. So again, most recent goes first. Location is a big one. We want to know, where was it located? Now, obviously, we all know Embry-Riddle is in Daytona, but guess what? We have a worldwide campus that's all over the country and the world, Prescott. So there may be a student who's also a resident advisor at Prescott. We want to make sure we know that, right? If you worked at Starbucks, do you know how many Starbucks there are? A lot, right? So you might be thinking, oh, maybe they worked at the headquarters in Washington, or they're actually in the one in Daytona, right? So we want to make sure the employer knows where we were. Okay. We talked about skills, so that's a good skills section to see what are some things that you might be proficient in. And one thing I always tell students, don't list something like Excel, for example, if you really can't use it up to the level that they're going to need at a company, right? So I can put in numbers and names, and I can click on the sum button for like, how many rooms do we have? But I can't do those crazy formulas and the ones that fill the boxes. So I don't have Excel on my resume, but a lot of you may, because it's something that you're learning in class and everything. Okay. So just remember, you want to make sure you don't put something on there unless you can actually show I can use this. Okay. And then, like I said, with your other sections, make sure you're having your titles, positions, how long, when did you go to that conference, or how long were you a member of that organization?
All right, so next we're going to discuss the importance of using bullet point statements. And I'm sure Liz can agree with this. I don't like to see the dashes in the resume. It's just something so professional about seeing nicely bullet pointed descriptions when you're discussing what you did in different duties and responsibilities with your experiences. So always remember that recruiters scan resumes, which means they don't take a whole lot of time to look at that resume. So when they see it at first glance, it needs to be nicely formatted, very simplistic. And Liz gave you guys a lot of great ways of how to segment your sections. Your first bullet point should always be the strongest when describing your duties and responsibilities. And again, your last bullet point can also be those outcomes. So anything that's data-based, if you achieved a specific number, if you're discussing statistics, something that you did through data analysis, those are different bullet points and pieces of information that you can include to show the results that were achieved in that experience. Action verbs. These are super important as well, because the reader or that viewer, the employer, they want to see what you did in action. And I'm going to share with you all an action verb list that you can use to describe what you did in some of these experiences. So why use the word made when you can use words such as developed or designed, created, established? So it's really good to use that action verb sheet as a way to just describe some of the things that you did. And the way that it's listed is you'll be able to see it in categories. So if you were in leadership, it'll give you different terms such as assisted, or maybe you oversaw something. So always try to start off your work experience, especially and internship experience, with a nice strong action verb. A lot of those action verbs that you'll see will replace that responsible for. And one thing that I always advise students is to use a variety. So if you notice that you use the word responsible for like 4 or 5 bullet points, you want to make sure that you're using some of those other descriptives to just show the variety or complexity of what you've done in some of your different positions. And how to structure your resume. So this is an important part. You do not want to give paragraphs or too much chunky information. All right. You want to make sure that things are segmented and done in bullet point format to make it nice and simple and easy to read. So these are just some examples of bullet pointed statements to give you all an idea. So as you can see in the first software engineer position, these are just some of the descriptives that were used. So redesign, this person engineered specific things. They interfaced, they designed. If you look down in the next position, they performed, they created, participated. So for each of your descriptives, you want to make sure you're using those strong action verbs. So off and on campus employment is important to include, and it can be very generalized. So if you have a job that is on campus, you can still use those descriptives to describe what you do on a day-to-day basis, and if you're off campus as well. You do want to include different items such as like your involvements, different organizations. For some of you, you may be involved in a sorority or a fraternity. All right, you do want to list your involvement there, and especially if you've held some type of leadership. It may or may not be different for applying to professional positions. You'll definitely see how you're going to still be able to use a lot of those same descriptives to describe what you did in those specific positions. And then for your objective, we want you to think it can be generalized, although you're giving that specific position. So if you know that you want an engineering physics internship at SpaceX, and that is the company that you're going to be applying for, you can be specific in that objective statement to pursue an off-campus position for summer 2023, or to obtain a position as XYZ with whichever company you decide. But again, that can be general, but you also want to include the specific company if you are aware. Few things to avoid. So I won't read through all of these, but one of the important ones now is the personal photo or images. So we would say no because of the industry that you're in. And again, nice and well formatted with no color. You don't want to include images. And it depends on where you're applying as well. In different areas, I have some students that are applying for positions internationally. So you always want to do your research because it is acceptable depending upon where you're applying for. But pretty much within the US, you don't see a lot of photos or images that you will be using for your resume. Also templates. Again, we don't want to use templates. You want to start with a fresh Microsoft Word document. You also want to indicate, you do not want to indicate any personal information. So we don't need to include things such as like age, if you're married or single, what your gender is. All right, all you're going to be doing is including the basic contact information, which is your cell phone number, email address, LinkedIn URL, or if you have a portfolio address that you would like to include. High school information. So again, if you're a first to second year student, it is acceptable if you're relaying and speaking to some of those experiences, but the more that you accumulate experiences while you're at Embry-Riddle, you do want to start including those and weaning your high school information off. And definitely by junior, senior year, you don't want to include your high school education at all on there. All right, and you don't want to exaggerate your accomplishments because during that interview, right, the employer is definitely going to ask you to speak to some of those experiences and different skill sets that you have. So you do want to make sure that your resume is honest in regards to what skills you possess and what your accomplishments have been. And sometimes they'll even make you follow up. So if you speak to a certification and you include that on the resume, sometimes they'll want that certificate, a copy of that, just to show that you have achieved and mastered whatever concept you learn. You do not want to include pronouns. This is a big one. So you don't want to use any complete sentences. That's the purpose of the action verbs, is to really state what you did in descriptive manner. So words like I, me, they, you want to remove those off of your resume altogether. And again, starting your bullet points off with strong action verbs. References. At the bottom of your resume, I know it used to be a very common thing to put references available upon request, but that can be removed. Some people still include it, but because that is going to be on a separate document, it's best to just leave it off, and that'll free up some space for you for the experiences that you will be including. So references should be included on a separate document. And I know for some government positions, they will require that again. So it's really important to research prior to, but for the most part, depending upon the position, most of the time you can leave the references off and put them on a separate document. And then not having too many people proofread for errors. So if you have that one or two, I would say one person or a couple of people proofread, that should be good to give you some essential and crucial feedback. And then you also do want to customize for the position within your resume. So you always look at the job duties, pull up that requisition, what are they looking for? And you want to make sure that you're relaying that skill set on your document. All right, and Liz is going to get to the fun part.
Yes, so we have a few bad examples coming up. So I know that most of you are muted. So if you want to just put it in the chat, or if you want to unmute and just say, this is what's wrong, then we will see that. So we have a few things on the next slide here. So first and foremost, right, what's wrong with this? Your name. It should be the biggest thing on your resume, right? So that one just looks like, oh, it's the same size as everything else. Okay. So someone else who put something in the chat. Oh, we got another one. Okay. So yeah, exactly. Dashes instead of bullet points, right? So someone wrote out currently a freshman at ERAU, right? We want to list the full name of the university, but yes, dashes instead of bullet points. That's a great one. What else? Who else has something? Right. So this is a common thing to think about. So for some students, they will write BS, okay? It should be B.S. Okay, because it's Bachelor of Science. I prefer you spell it out, but to save room, if you do the BS, that's okay. It's not necessarily what we suggest or recommend, but again, it's fine. That education section is also missing the location, and it has the full date range. So again, we want to say, I'm going to graduate May 25, December 26, whatever it's going to be. Make sure you capitalize the full state abbreviation. So F capital L. There's an I there instead of, right? Spelling mistakes. Good one. Exactly. So we got the dashes already. Make sure you no personal pronouns. You got to start with those action verbs. So spelling mistakes. So what does that one say? Frommed. What is frommed? Right? I'm sure it means formed, right? Meber, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Activities is spelled wrong. It says Meber. Someone caught the dashes. That's a really good one. So it's not a bad thing, but it just doesn't look as professional and clean using that bullet point that's already created. Even those fancy bullet points, like some people like the arrows or the diamonds, we just say use the boring circles, or even the squares are fine. I think that's what mine has. A little bit different. So you can be a little bit fancy, but just don't go too much with like, I'm going to do a butterfly. Nah, go away from that. All right, let's move to the next slide.
And I'm not sure if Liz covered the FL, but with that one, you want to make sure that if you are abbreviating that state, you capitalize both letters.
Yes. All right. Okay, so at the top right away, and again, please feel free to put in the chat too if you see anything. So we're going a little fast with
Oops.
the stuff, which is fine. It's good. So yes, email. What is the reason for us saying that, right? Would you want to hire someone with that, right? Sex in the City party girl at AOL.com, right? So again, it's fine to have that as your personal email. You're getting your junk spam emails to that, or your shopping account, whatever it is, but it's really supposed to be a professional document. So we do suggest switching back, she should just use Samantha.Jones123, something like that. The city state address, right? So again, it's something that we think about. You can have your city and state on there, but we really just have kind of moved from having the address on the resume. It does sometimes deter certain employers from going forward in the process based on their hiring policies, but again, it's not something you need on your resume. So it's something to think about. In the Embry-Riddle, we're missing that hyphen. Again, we talked about the BS. I do like spelling it out, but it isn't a necessarily a bad thing if you don't. It says student assistant in library. What is a library called on campus, right? We could put ERAU Hunt Library. Okay, so we want to make sure it's specific. Oh, there it is, the dreaded word. So that's a big one. Like I said, obviously, yes, if you're still working at the library, now is correct, right? It's true, but it's not professional. We want to stick with something more along the lines of, again, present is preferred, current is acceptable. Now just is very unprofessional, in my opinion. So again, we want to make sure we're showing what specifically is that date range. Instead of saying I work with librarians, right? Be a little more specific there. What about that bottom section? What are we seeing there, right? Couple of things, different font size, different font styles. We have a wrong spelling in there. Someone used a personal pronoun. So yeah, there's a few things, and these are things we can help you with, right? And I know Shonda talked a little bit about bullet points, and this is just our getting started resume writing presentation. And so you can work with your program manager and talk to them about what did I really do at each position, and we can help you formulate those bullet points and get your head around what you can write. And so let's see, I think we have another example. Oops, employees was spelled wrong too. Uh-oh. Activities, again, someone spelled it wrong. So that person really needed to figure that out. Anyone in ERPL? Anybody? I don't know what that means. I'm assuming engineering something, 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 right? Up, Aiden.
Oh, Ada.
Okay, you're in there. So you know what it means, right? And maybe some employers, maybe they went to Embry-Riddle or something, but I would like you to spell that out. Okay. Now for ERAU, right? You can put Embry-Riddle, the full name, and then ERAU. So in the future, you can start using that again. So same with ERPL. You can spell it out and then put it in parentheses or something. That's fine. Experimental Rocket Propulsion Lab, right?
Okay.
See, I thought the first letter was engineering. So there you go. But that's really important to show them I am in the rocket propulsion concentration,
Okay.
whatever it's called, right? I'm showing that is something important. Embry-Riddle Ping Pong League. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a good one, right? Table tennis, something like that.
Yeah.
Experiment was spelled wrong too. So there's just a few things on here, right? A couple of personal pronouns, references is on there. So just again, really thinking about, okay, if you start to see the things that are wrong on some other resumes, you might get to start seeing what's on yours too that you can work on, okay? So yeah. Was this you or me?
I can, yeah. So what we want you all to do is when we give you all, we're going to send you the resume, a couple of resume templates that you can use. One will be more generalized and will show you if you are a freshman or even a sophomore that you could use to lay out your information. And then we'll also give you one a little bit more extensive depending on the experiences, qualifications and skills you have. Once you go in and kind of update and edit your resume, we want you all to share it with someone and ask someone that you know well to look at your document. And after they have looked at this resume and just give them about, I would say 10 to 15 seconds, ask them these 3 questions. And the reason why we listed these 3 is because these are the things that are going to stand out primarily to that employer or to that viewer when they look at it. So what's the major on the resume? So what are you majoring in? Did they see an email address that they can contact you? And then they name somewhere where you've worked or an experience or an honor award that you have listed there. So if they can't find these and identify, that means you may need to go back through looking at different areas on the examples that are italicized and even bolded are going to be extremely important, because those are the things that really help certain areas stand out on your document. All right, we do want to share with you all Eagle Elevate, which is our program here that focuses on the NACE competencies, and NACE stands for National Association of Colleges and Employers. So when employers look for candidates, these are some of the competencies, and again, like Liz was stating, some of those soft skills even that you can include. So things surrounding career and self-development, communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, and you all see the list here. But we want you to find a way to be able to include those. So Eagle Elevate, we have included the information for the program director, actually our assistant director here in the office who oversees that program, and some things that you can include, such as your involvements on campus, if you all have any internships, study abroad, any type of coursework, you all are able to add those on your resume. So we do have a program here on campus that can assist you with that. So we'll also share this information. So if you would like to participate and learn more about Eagle Elevate, we can definitely get you started. This is going to be a listing of all of our events for the spring semester. All right, and you may see some additional ones that appear, but we have them segmented by our lunch and learn sessions. So we want you all to come. You can bring your lunch with you, but these are some of the topic areas that we'll be covering. Then we have our career ready workshops. All of those take place at 5:30. And the same way we're hosting this virtual session, we'll also have a session this evening in person. So with most of our career ready workshops that are held in the evening, we'll also have that virtual session that you can attend if you're not able to make it. And then we have some career events. So mock interview day. So what better way to get some practice with your resume and just learning how to introduce yourself effectively. We have that resume review day. Please come out and see us. JCPenney suit up event, job shadow day. But please take a screenshot of this so that you all can attend some of the events. And I'll let Liz discuss a little bit about our Industry Career Expo.
Yes, absolutely. So again, our expo, we have this every spring, every fall. So this year it's on Thursday, March 23rd. It is 9 to 3, but general admission will be at 9:30. If you saw on the slide previously at the bottom, there was a QR code for any accommodations or needs for our events. So that would be something that we can assist you with if you need any accommodations for expo. It's a very large event, a lot of employers, a lot of students. So we just want to make sure if there's anything you need from us that we do that for you. And so we also have our Fast Pass event, very exciting. So this is going to start, I believe, on the 24th, yes, February. So about a month for this. I know in the fall, if you were here, we did have a few technical issues, so we're working really hard to make sure that does not happen. And I know one of the weeks during this period of time is spring break, but our office will still be open. So if you do feel like getting a fast pass that week, feel free. But just bring your Eagle card over to the Student Union Suite 313, just right outside our office. Swipe your card, get your badge, you're all set. You can also come day of event and get it then as well. So don't worry if you didn't get it in advance. Oh yeah, we have a few other things. Again, make sure you look at Handshake. I know we mentioned that before, but you can upload your resume there, and your program manager or one of our career peers is able to assist you in editing or reviewing that. We also do have career peers in the office between 10 and 2. So if you feel like dropping by and your program manager is not available, they can review it for you. We have a lot of digital resources and resume samples for each major as well. Some of them are fillable Word documents. You can actually plug in your information. Makes it a little easier for you than just having a blank document, but just a few things that we can do for you. And yeah, questions? You can feel free to unmute or put in the chat. We do still have the Career Fair Plus app for Career Expo. So it's something that just updates the calendar or the map for the ICI Center that day, as well as how many employers we have. I believe we're at 87 right now. So we're just an ICI Center this spring, hopefully. We haven't ruled out student union just yet, but right now we're just an ICI. But yes, any questions? We will have a interview session tomorrow for, starting out in the interview process, and we'll also have second resume writing, elevated resume writing next Thursday. There is class on Expo Day, unfortunately for you. So you'll work with your professors. Just come during times you don't have class. Some of the professors may give you an absence for that day, depending on the class. But you do have classes that day, so just check your syllabus to see if any of them are allowing you to go. Usually with some of our upper level students, because you're getting close to graduating or need that internship, they may be a little more flexible. But again, you have 9 to 3 the whole day, so you should have some time somewhere in there to get over to the event. Great question. Okay. So for resume formatting, portrait. Landscape is what our PowerPoint looks like. And the problem with that is it's just not going to give you a lot of room. Portrait is that vertical format, so definitely using that is the best.
Good questions.
Yeah.
Anything else? And if you all want to include your email address, just to make sure for those, I know we can see Sean B, but if you all would like a copy of the resume templates that we have available that you can kind of use to start your draft, we will definitely be sending those out to you.
Yeah. And any other questions, anyone? All right, well, we're going to stop recording now. Again, you can give us email, or we do have, I think everyone checked in on Handshake for me, so thank you so much. So